What's both brown and sticky? A stick. What's going on, YouTube? We now have Update 42's patch notes finally released. And not only do we have the reveal trailer that we watched together, all the little bits and bobs about that, we now have the actual patch notes themselves, which will give us all of the information that we need. And we're going to break down the key highlights for you today because you guys voted on this being today's video. So let's jump into it. And the marquee feature for this is actually going to be home tours. Now, this was the key highlighted, impactful. Q3 is going to be a housing update. So this is what was brought to us. I want to say, though, before we jump into that, I do think that this is actually more of an Infinite Archive Q3 update, but we'll talk about all of that. Let's talk first about the home tours feature, which, on the face of it, is pretty cool. It basically adds a new system where you can list up your house, and you can go travel to it. And, there's going to be a menu where you can view other people's homes, through different categories. You're going to be able to travel. You're going to be able to tour different people's houses. It's, on the surface, not very complex. I think a lot of people were looking for something a little bit different. I believe there's also an add-on on PC that does this already, because people were talking about that they can already do this on PC. Unfortunately, I play on console, so don't know. But this is a interesting feature, not exactly anywhere near the realm of possibility on what I thought we were getting. There is a touch of disappointment in this being the marquee feature. I think that's just because a lot of people wanted it to be furnishing deconstruction, or they wanted the ability to sell their homes to other players, or increasing, the home slots. There's a lot of different things that they were talking about on the forums, and I think, too, that it's important if we have ideas to keep pushing those in the forums as well, because a lot of times, they're years behind on what they're planning to do, so if we recommend something, it could potentially come up in the future. So I never want to tell people that their ideas eventually won't happen, so feel free to keep posting those. The ESO forums are the best place to do that, because I constantly get asked, hey Jake, if I have a suggestion, what's the best place to put it to where ZeniMax will see it? It's the forums. A YouTube video probably is less effective than the forums, because they're on there constantly. But on the surface, this is going to be pretty cool. I'll be able to list up houses that I'm doing events on, like we played Knockoff, or we made jump puzzles. So I'll be able to boot up a stream one day and say, everyone come to this house, the first person to get to the end wins a prize. So that'll be pretty cool. So I'm already thinking of ways that we can utilize this Q3 update to do some fun things together. But let's keep it pushing. And there are going to be 2 new houses. Now, we didn't get the best view of them during the live stream, so it'll be cool to actually see them on PTS, actually be able to interact with them. I do think overall, when the snippets that I was able to see, that they're going to be pretty good, unfortunately, because sometimes I wish that the houses sucked so that I wasn't tempted to get them. But 2 new houses, yeah, that's pretty cool. And now, here's why you tune into Jakeclips, because we're going to talk about a key piece of the update that nobody even really glossed over, which is the new furnishings. Now, you might think, Jake, I don't use new furnishings, but importantly, 28 new furnishing plans can be acquired through Skingrad rewards coffers, which is going to be your Westweld world bosses, incursions, daily delve bosses. That's pretty good. Those are going to be worth oogles amounts of money. Everyone's going to be so worried about everything else going on. If you keep farming these dailies, you're going to make a lot of money. A lot of people are farming them right now. It's the newest zone. Everybody's excited about it. But by Q3 and even Q4, how many people are still going to be farming those same Skingrad rewards coffers? Well, hopefully you, my viewer, will be, because you'll be the ones profiting off of it. And that's what I hope for us, is that we'll be the ones to profit off of this. Everyone's going to be focused on, fruiting around and seeing everybody's houses, and we're going to be focused on profits. And don't ask me why I didn't slide it over sooner. But Infinite Archive is the next update. And this is actually, I think, is the bigger of the updates. So we're going to have 2 new arenas based on a fiery path and an icy path. And then we're going to have 10 new bosses drawn from Tamriel, which will probably be based on the newer ones, I would imagine. And then they're going to have 8 new verses and 10 new visions, including a new avatar. That's pretty neat. 2 new Marauders, new Fabled Monsters, yada yada yada. And a daily quest, which will be offering really nice rewards for us. Being able to do an Infinite Archive daily quest through this new Ghostly Ultimer actually be pretty cool. and we'll be able to get more rewards. And importantly, the more stuff there is to do in Infinite Archive, the more archival fortunes you can get, which means the more nice things like mythic leads, furnishings, monster helmets, /shoulder pages, /scripts, all that other stuff you'll be able to get easier because you'll have more money. And now we must laser enhance, because with this Q3 update comes new class sets, and these actually look fairly good for pretty much everybody. Starting with the Templar, dealing damage with a burning light twice within 30 seconds creates a 5-meter area for you, and this effect can occur every 6 seconds. So, create a little meter around you, 15 feet's worth. Do some conversions for you. While in this area, dealing damage with an Ardric Spear ability launches a second spear at your target, dealing magic damage and applying Sunder, and increasing your weapon and spell damage by 300 for 6 seconds, and this damage scales off your weapon or spell damage, whichever one is higher. I believe when they were showing this on screen, it did about 4,000 damage, so this could actually be a pretty cool PvE-based set that you get from the Infinite Archive that's actually Templar-themed and good, and I think that's just actually, pretty awesome, realistically. Next, we have the Beacon of Oblivion. While you do not have a pet active, increase your damage done to monsters and healing by 15%, but while you have a pet active, gain 1840 health and 1980 armor. And the 2, 3, and 4 is armor, weapon, and spell maximum health. I actually think that this is going to be pretty decent for PvP. The problem is there's so much competition for good sets, especially for sorcerers, that I don't know if this is going to outpace some of the mythics, some of the other 5P sets. I don't know. I think a lot of it will depend too on the numbers, how they get changed. The other problem is that it increases your damages to monsters, but it doesn't increase your healing done. So if your pet dies in Cyrodiil, you can heal yourself quickly utilizing a different heal or something different, which is going to be neat, I guess. Overall, though, I think that might depend on how the numbers change and shake up. From a PvE perspective, I don't think that this is a significant enough buff, but 15% is a lot. So I could see that it could be. If you're building a PvE sorcerer, throwing this on as a 5-piece, is it enough? My biggest problem with this set is it's 2, 3, and 4 don't do anything really for PvE except the weapon and spell damage. That could be slightly problematic, but then you could think of it maybe like an arena build, which does benefit more from the armor and the health. So we'll have to see how it shakes up and see how everything goes down. But overall, I think it's actually pretty cool that they're trying to experiment with more class sets, so I still like it overall. Next up is Dragon Knight. Your light attacks deal flame damage every 2 seconds over 6 seconds, which is already a fantastic start for them. Your fully charged heavy attacks consume up to 3 of your damage over time effects to deal flame damage in a 6-meter radius, dealing up to 200% more damages to enemies below 33% health. This damage scales off your weapon and spell damage, is increased 20% for each damage over time effect on a target, up to 60%. Yeah, this is probably pretty good. Definitely be interested to see how people utilize this set. Are people going to try to do some bombing shenanigans with it? Is this going to shake up for PvE? There's a lot of different things that you can use it, and nicely, it's 2, 3, and 4 actually pair really well with this set. Penetration, weapon and spell is just overall great for a set like this. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of utilization in a set like this, but we'll have to see exactly what people kind of find its utilization for as they test it. We have Umbral Edge. Take a wild guess as to who that goes for. So, when you cast a shadow ability, it's the Nightblade spoiler, you gain Umbral Repose for 3 seconds up to once every 6 seconds. Umbral Repose causes you to dodge the next attack against you and automatically curse the enemy, applying major vulnerability for 5 seconds, increases their damage taken by 10%. And it's got 2, 3, and 4 of health, armor, stamina. I think this is unique. The problem with Nightblades is that it's the same problem. There's a lot of competition for good 5-piece sets. I could certainly see people utilizing this set, but is it arguably better than what people are already using? Because the other problem with this is you're cursing the guy that hit you, essentially. You dodge them, so you don't always pick who this effect is going to go on. I think that could be a bit finicky, but overall, I think conceptually it's cool. It fits with the Nightblade theme. And I think from that perspective, it's still worth trying and worth seeing what it's good for. And then there's the Warden, the classiest class of them all. It's 2, 3, and 4. Goes pretty well. Penetration, weapon and spell, weapon and spell. Dealing damage with a light attack applies Eagle's Mark to your target for 12 seconds. Eagle's Mark causes an attack eagle to attack your target every 2 seconds after a 3-second delay, dealing physical damage per attack and increasing your damage done with your animal companion abilities used against them by 10%. This effect can occur every 3 seconds, but cannot be applied to enemies who already have an Eagle's Mark. You can only have one Eagle's Mark active at a time. And this is certainly interesting. I don't know scaling-wise if that's enough damage. I know that if you're parsing, you could mean 10% of an unnamed damage buff is certainly decent, but I don't know if this is going to be enough to give the Warden any specific tools to do things that it can't already do, but it's thematic, so, that's got that going for it. And then there's the next class that definitely exists and is used by people, some of them, maybe even a dozen or so, and that is the Necromancer. Consuming a corpse causes the corpse to explode, dealing magical damage to enemies within 5 meters, increased by 10% for each Grave Lord ability slotted. This effect can occur once every half second and scales off your weapon and spell damage. This is one I think you really need to see how much damage this is doing, because there's different types of content that's going to have more corpses on the ground. Imagine you're pushing into a Cyrodiil keep and somebody's blowing up all the corpses around you. That could be pretty big, so I don't know how much damage this is truly going to be doing, and I think that once we have that number, this could be something that we really look at, but until then, it's a bit hard to say, so this is one to keep on the radar, though, because I think it's at least very cool. And then we finished on the Arcanist class, which is crit chance, weapon and spell, weapon and spell. Dealing damage with an Arcanist ability applies 2 random effects to your target. This effect can occur once every 7 seconds. Dealing damage with a Herald of Time ability reduces this cooldown by half a second. Yeah, this is pretty cracked. There's whole dedicated sets that do this worse that were incredible for a long time. This is an amazing effect that's going to be used and abused, and it's incredible. I think the Arcanist definitely lucked out thematically of all of the classes, because I think this is definitely the best one. Up there with the Dragon Knight. There's rumors that the developers play Dragon Knights, a lot of them on their main accounts. Some of them probably play Arcanist too, so they definitely got the most love from this set update. We'll have to see how good these sets are, but I think you can already tell that those two are going to be the best of the lot. Next up, we have another amazing quality of life changed. Item Curation Edition. So, to assist with the various items chases throughout Tamriel, the following coffers are now curated. What's curated? Drop side note here. It's when the game is saying, we're going to guaranteedly give you something you don't have. So, it's you don't have this already? Boom. You're only going to get items you don't have. So, once you've completed all pieces, curation ends, obviously, and you go back to getting random pieces. So, what does this now affect? So, this will now affect Undaunted coffers. This does not affect the random coffers, so what does that mean? So if you buy the 1 key coffer that could be any set that's there, that's still random. If you buy the 50-50, that's now curated. So let's say you're doing Spindle Clutch, and on one side, you've got a medium and a light, but you don't have the heavy, and on the other side, you have the medium and the heavy, but you don't have the light. So there's 2 sets there, one's from Spindle Clutch 1, one's from Spindle Clutch 2. What are you going to get? You're either going to get the light or the heavy from one of those 2 ones. It's 50-50. And then once you have all of those, then if you're still rolling your keys on them for some random reason, then it will go back to being random again. You're always guaranteed to get something that is not collected by you now from your Undaunted keys if you are buying the non-random 1-key mystery box. So that's amazing. Imperial City Monster Set Shoulder Coffers. That's cool. Nice. That is a change. And the weekly trial rewards coffers. I don't know if they also meant to say like arenas as well, how that's going to work, because that would obviously be very nice too. Other weekly rewards would be kind of cool. Don't know if it's just for the trial rewards coffers, so we'll see. But that's awesome too. I think if you're going to go through the effort to get on the leaderboards for anything, you should guaranteedly get something that's either really good or something you don't have. And then there's going to be a bunch of new things in the Master Writ Vendor, which definitely I think will increase the value of these items. If you have writs, Be a really good time to convert them into here. But overall, I think that converting your writs is generally still better. Wait for a new set to come out and then utilize buying the actual attunable stations. Those are still going to probably be your best bet, but if you want to get gold, this is certainly going to be a good time to do so. Then we have new styles and collectibles. You can see that at the top here, we're going to get a lot more silver bolts, greens, yellows. We got new body markings. We're going to also blow through the titles here. That way the video doesn't become too long because there's more key stuff to talk about. And that there's a mount preview section. That's, pretty neat. But more importantly, remember the last guild store guild bank that you had active. How many times have people utilized the wrong guild store, the wrong guild bank? I'm glad that they're doing this. And below that, also importantly, you're going to be able to do the Undaunted Celebration event again, but more importantly, they're bringing back some of the best ones, including the Engine Guardian, and the new style this year is going to be Earthgore. Earthgore looks great, and because of that, it's going to be exceptionally profitable for you to be able to get. We'll obviously do a dedicated Earthgore video, but overall, I think that this is still going to be some amazing events for us. I'm excited to kind of break all that down with you guys. And there are tons of different tweaks to morphs and different things and abilities, and I looked at them and I really wanted to focus on just a few. The biggest one is to Vampire. So, the Undeath perk is being changed. Notably, probably the only really good reason to be a Vampire. This passive now reduces the damage taken up to 5/10%, down from 15 to 30%. However, it removed the stage 3 or higher requirement from this passive, and they basically say that everybody was using this for PvP. That's the reasoning. And to be fair, it's true. Everybody pretty much was a vampire. It looked like a Twilight movie outside with that one guy that was like, I'm a werewolf, and he was just getting absolutely lampooned by Dawnbreakers. So overall, I think that this is definitely going to nerf Vampire. My biggest problem with this is I hope that they plan to do more with the Vampire, because they're basically taking away the only reason that you are a vampire, and they're not giving like we're changing the other toolkit. So I'm hoping that as they tweak the Vampire, they look at it and maybe almost make it like the werewolf, but you can become a permanent, vampire lord, something. A whole lot you can do with the Vampire. It's been reworked so many times. I'm excited to see what they do with it, but yes, you will no longer have to be a Stage 3 Vampire your entire Cyrodiil run, which will make being a Dragon Knight a little less worse, because now you don't get bonus flame damage to 99% of the community. Also, they are adding new ways that you can get Luminous Ink. If you've completed the Dragon, you can now get it through Treasure Chests, and if you have the Griffin, you can now get it through Heavy Sacks. Why they made them through 2 separate wings, I don't know. If you have about 50 free hours to do some questing, now is the time to complete your scribing skill line. And to round us off on a fun one, holiday decorations that were left out in several cities have been gathered up, safely stored in the attic. For those of you who don't know, you could still find odd Halloween or other decorations that were left out on way shrines, different areas. It was kind of funny, and it was, kind of interesting to look at. She'd be like, oh, there's pumpkins out here for some reason, but they've been all safely stored away. But those are the key things that I wanted to focus on for this update for us here, because there's so much here that I actually didn't expect to be here. I almost think that watching the whole thing live, I was like, oh, this is a pretty short update. But as you look at this with me, you can see that there's tons of different things here. So I really just wanted to focus on the key highlights, what's going to impact your money, what's going to impact your builds, what are going to be some new gold methods, what are going to be some things that you need to know as a player. And I think that we've pretty well accomplished that, but obviously I will link this in the description below if you want to read every little piece of this here, because it is obviously, there's tons of things to go over. So thank you guys so much again for watching. As always, we are doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you have to do to enter is leave a comment in the comments below. Every comment is entered equally, as long as it doesn't get removed for spam or for any other shady reason. Second thing is just be subscribed on YouTube, and if you would like additional entries, just make sure you're following on Twitch and following on Twitter. And finally, a random word will be flashed upon the screen. If you're the first person to comment that word, you will win. Thank you guys so much again. Tomorrow we will be doing our Tuesday vendor. Hopefully that's goated with the sauce, as the cool kids say, because last weekend's golden vendor was incredible. And I'm hoping that this Tuesday vendor will follow it up and be even better, because the higher highs from the Tuesday vendor is even higher, because there are some mythics that even I really want. So I'm hoping we get something good. But I'll catch you guys then. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.